Welcome to The One Thing, where each episode features our signature segment, Pandora's Box. We dive into hot topics that challenge the norm and ignite real conversation.
Inspired by Greek mythology, Pandora's Box isn't just about chaos. It's about truth, transformation and hope. That's what we bring to every conversation.
Have a cause or business that deserves to be seen? Want to be remembered forevermore? Be our next special guest. Contact us today at theonething@edgeradioaustralia.com.
Oh, golly.
What do you say to that video? What have I done? The decisions I've made in my life.
We love it. We love it. Hello.
You love it. There we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are in the hot seat today, three of us sitting right here. Welcome to Edge Radio Australia and to The One Thing, where we are opening Pandora's Box today with our guest. However, before I introduce our amazing guest, I'm going to hand it over to my wonderful co-host, not Aaron, Lisa.
So I'm not wonderful.
No, you're just hot, like that Pandora's Box. I'm going to hand it over to Lisa, who's going to read out a little bit of a poem first.
I know. Me and my AI wrote this poem. I haven't even practiced it, but I just thought it might be fun to open the show. Mm-hmm. And I'm so looking forward to opening Pandora's Box on Money Blocks today with Terri, because, hey, money makes the world go round. And I think everyone can relate to it. So here's the poem. A love-hate poem. I want to be rich, I truly do, to swim in cash like Scrooge McDuck too. But every time I check my pay, it seems the zeros ran away. I tell myself you're worth a lot, but my bank account says, ha, you're not. I manifest with candles lit, then splurge on stuff I don't legit. I tried to budget, made a chart, then bought 3 mugs that said, follow your heart. I did a course on wealth mindset, but Amazon ain't seen my last click yet. Money flows to me with grace, but somehow skips my dwelling place. I whispered affirmations sweet while dodging late fees on my lease. I read that money's just a vibe, so why is it ghosting me like a bad Tinder tribe? I saged my wallet, cleared the air, but it's still full of nothing and stale bus fare. Money is energy, they say with a grin, so why does mine feel tired and thin? I tracked expenses like a hawk till Uber Eats made my budget mock. I blamed my parents, cursed my fate, then bought a crystal just in case. Who can relate to this? Oh. I tried to save, I really did, then saw a sale and flipped my lid. The truth is this, we all feel stuck in cycles built on fear and luck. But maybe if we laugh and learn, we'll start to shift and slowly earn. So here's to blocks, let's give a cheer, then gently boot them in the rear, because money's weird and life is too, but you've got this, and your bills do too.
Well, after Lisa's poem, thanks for being part of
I feel like in my school.
We'll see you next week.
I feel like I'm at school.
How long was that?
Have I used up all my time allocation?
Yeah, that's it. You're done.
Nothing to see here. Move on.
How about we bring in our special guest, please, so I can introduce her.
Here comes the big click. Boom, boom, boom. There we are.
Yes.
Terri Messenger.
Don't remove. You've got to remove. Oh, there she is.
Hello, Terri Messenger, our special guest today. Terri is a renowned hypnotherapist, a master NLP trainer, and a kick-ass Edge presenter. She is bringing in her spiritual wisdom and transformational tools today to help us all break free from our money trauma and to step into abundance, my favourite word. Welcome, Terri. It's so lovely to have you on our show today.
Wow, thank you. What a great introduction. It's so good to be here yet again with The One Thing.
Well, yeah, what's going on? You're normally here, in the studio, but today you seem to be in, very nice surroundings there. It looks comfy.
Just so we can clarify, are you talking about the introduction Leanne did or my poem?
Oh, both. I mean, absolutely both. I mean, you'll see crystals, you'll see the whole works, bargain hunting with the universe. I've tried it all as well. And as for what you said, Leanne, spot on. Let's do this.
Absolutely.
Look at the confidence and also just look at the competition here. Okay, let's face it. They're already fighting over who did the best meal. What a great
It's never me. It's always Lisa asking the question, though.
Lisa.
She's got.
That's right. There's a button for me there.
We need to work on that, Terry. I think there's something that needs to be done outside of the studio.
Beautiful. Well, Terri, you are the guest today, and I'm sure these two lovely ladies have questions for you because I have none. Absolutely nothing. I'm just going to sit here.
You got all your money sorted.
Oh yeah.
Because you're already perfect, Darren.
What's that?
It's because you're already perfect.
Oh, look.
Where's she been living?
What have you been
rock
drinking?
has she crawled out
Where
from
can
underneath?
I buy some? Oh, no, but it's true. Actually, you know what? We were having a conversation before we went on to air, actually before Lisa arrived, because she was so late. Yeah. But about actually very much this situation as far as the money side of things.
We were.
And I was talking about a money block I have.
And I said, well, lucky you.
Look at that. I've come to the right place.
Okay.
He couldn't remember that we were talking about money blocks today. And I said, well, aren't you on the right show for that?
That's right.
So do share.
Well, my money block was this, is that I've been very lucky in life. I've had money. I've also had no money, so I've been at both ends of the spectrum. And what I was going to get at is I've created a money block for myself now because I've been struggling for a very long time. And because I've been struggling, I've forgotten how to actually have wealth and enjoy wealth. And I kind of talked myself out of it, almost like it's a bad thing. And it's been something I've been working on myself lately because, I've gotten too used to struggling.
And it's something I can relate to as well because that used to be the way we lived our life all the time.
Yeah.
It was, we need more? And we don't really need any more, and living from a lack rather than from,
a poverty mindset.
Yeah, poverty mindset.
Yeah, and it is mindset 101. It really is. And I think about when the times in my life where I was really, really rolling and very successful, my mindset was completely different. So snapping myself out of it, this is a block that I've got, and I'm working on it. So, Terri, just fix me, okay? I haven't got time for all this rubbish.
I'm hearing you, Aaron Malloy. And as far as I'm concerned, what you just said there is probably amen to the biggest money blocks on the planet. And what it really comes down to is a little thing called shame and money shame. So there is a lot of people, especially it appears that the more giving sometimes a person can be, you can almost be over giving.
Sure.
And that can come back and really bite us. And, we feel that it is a sin to actually desire money. And we almost are giving a message to money, which, by the way, is a currency. So it is an energy. And if you think of it as an energy, it's almost, well, what is your money currency? However, if you're saying that, you a lot of people feel bad to ask for money, or they feel like they want to hold back, or they feel ashamed that they might be selling a product or selling a service. And then there's this money element that is attached. But actually, when we block money, we think we're doing the righty by the people that we're serving, but actually we're doing the wrong thing. And it's a bit of an oxymoron because it's like in the end, as a result of feeling like we're doing the right thing by that person whom we want to serve and we want to look after and we want to do the right thing by, what we're doing is we're depriving the planet. And I'll just say this, and this is a bit of a persuasion engineering, just as a disclaimer, but when you are holding back your right to be rich, your right to call in money for what you do. For example, you have this incredible radio show and you make this incredible stand for people and you give people this incredible opportunity to come onto the show and speak their truth, right? However, if you are in that mode of, I don't want to overcharge, or you have that money shame, what you're doing is you're depriving the planet because how long can a person go before money runs out? And then that's when you might have to go, well, what am I going to do now? And so I'm not saying this as this is just a kind of a bit of a metaphor here, but if you ran out of money, for example, you might have to go and get a job at Coles. And then you're depriving everyone who could be listening to you on Edge Radio. And as a result of you wanting to do the right thing by people, you've actually done the wrong thing. I'm sorry, I've used you as an example, but it was such...
I was using Aaron as an example because I was going to say I'd be depriving the planet if I was working at Coles. I would be terrible. I'd be grumpy all day.
All the time. But I'll take your point and I'll run with that. Someone who used to be in my life, she would say to me, like, why are you working so hard? Why are you struggling? Like, you could be going, just go get a normal job, go get a Joe job, and you'll be so much more comfortable. And my attitude was, but I'd be so unhappy. I'd be so unfulfilled. And like what you said, and the big thing about Edge for me is all about giving everyone a voice, giving everyone an opportunity to be heard. And if I can't do that, it doesn't really matter to me about the dollars in my account. So I would feel empty if I went and, worked at Coles or whatever, wherever I worked. So, yeah, I mean.
But what I want to know a little bit more about in that instance too is when we ourselves go out and pay for something and buy something and pay for a service, we don't have that guilt associated with giving the person that money. But when we're actually inviting someone in to have a service, or we're we're selling something, or we have a product that's for sale, we have that guilt associated with charging them money.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's bizarre.
Yes.
Guilty, though. A lot of people feel guilty spending money, though, Leanne.
No. Like if I'm going to say an acupuncturist, I don't have a problem with giving the acupuncturist my money to go and have a session. But if someone's coming to me for a Bowen therapy session, I had to overcome this. This is really hard for me to overcome and actually go, well, you're paying me for my service.
Yes. You're worthy.
It's worth. Where does that stem from? Is that something that comes from childhood, Terri? Is it something that's been, programmed into us? What's the story around that?
Well, that's a great question because that leads me to also saying I am not a billionaire, okay? So I'm not an expert on this topic of finance and wealth. That is not my topic. But what I will say is that my role is to help people because they say that a really, 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 really good coach, and it's like a really, 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 really good dancing teacher, right? Or even a really, really, really good singing teacher. Really,
really, really,
that
really.
may not know how to sing. Okay, I'm going to prove a point here.
Terri, any more really, really, reallys? And I thought we were the Spice Girls. Okay, come on.
I tell you what I want, what I really, really want. But my point is that let's just say, for example, that we ran a karaoke night. Just saying. Yeah. And, and then I happen to be the hostess. Well, I can't sing for nuts, okay? That is not my jam. So, I can do other things. I can dance. And Mum was saying to me the other day, my gift is in exhortation. And to put that in layman's terms, it's encouraging people. It's getting people up. So I may be able to, and as a coach and a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, I may be able to turn that person into a great singer by giving them their confidence, especially if it is already inside them. So a really, really good coach will be able to draw that out of people. And look, I have to say, this is another disclaimer, and Lisa, you even know a couple of these people, but I worked with men who exceeded me way ahead of time and made millions, but they did work with me. But what happened, and the fact was that they were able to shift the way they looked at money. They were able, and it didn't always come down to money. Quite often it came down to self-worth, because in spiritual prosperity codes, when you look at it, it's really coming down to your self-worth. So, for example, Leanne, you know, you're an excellent bowing therapist, right? And you know what you're doing and you've got expertise in that. You know, why would you insult your years of training and expertise and experience by wanting to hold back on that money? And, you know, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is wanting money too much, because if you want something too much, it will run away from you. Now, again, remember, I'm not the expert on money here, a bit like the karaoke, but, you know, I may be able to help lift the lid of some of the belief systems. And yes, it does come from, a lot of it comes from our family of origin, you know, and that can go into different pathways. So, for example, if you look at Andrew Carnegie, the great man back in the olden days of steel, and he worked with Henry Ford and Rockefellers, you know, he was a very, very wealthy man. But where did he come from? He came from poverty. But you see, for him, it was such a pain point, like the genius zone, that he obviously made a decision somewhere along the line. I'm not doing this anymore. This ain't happening. He watched his single mother, you know, struggle for so long, and it became the guru. And, you know, you've heard the guru before. That's what drives people nuts. So quite often, when you look at a lot of multi-millionaires, I know the Trump family, they are definitely generational there, but, you know, a lot of people who are very, very wealthy are first generation. And when it's first generation, it's usually because they suffered so much. They suffered, like Anthony Robbins, he suffered. He didn't set out to be a multi-millionaire, but, you know, he is as a result of the work he does. But he also asks himself the right questions. So I think one of the things is when people want for something and they're really wanting it, what they're actually doing is they're creating a void and a lack within them. So that void is an energy, and that energy then becomes a currency. And then that's what's actually pushing it away. Where, you know, I can tell you from firsthand experience that the moment you can stop thinking about the money, the lack, and the want of it, start thinking about the service, or go get yourself distracted. That's a classic.
It's about living the life, isn't it, Terri? It's about living as though you already have it. So I know some people say that you fake it until you make it.
I can't believe it. Never.
But if you're living like you have it, that means you're spending like you have it.
No, not necessarily. Just in your mind.
Okay.
Just in your mind.
Could I throw
Lisa.
Sorry, go on.
No, I said I hear Lisa. Yeah, I do hear what
yeah. You've got to, because if you wake up with that lack and you're like, oh, and your shoulders are down and, oh, I really can't afford to go and do it. Whereas you're like, I'm a millionaire and I feel amazing and I've got all this beautiful energy and everybody loves me and I put on my clothes and I'm like, oh, what a beautiful day. How are you going, Sam? And you go and, you know, buy your coffee and you don't think about.
And then your credit card declines.
And you put that card across.
Excuse me, who invited her on?
Here with the card, your hand shaking. Hey, I just want to bring up a point that I've never thought of before, and maybe I'm way off base here, right? Just help me out on this one. But we keep talking about money as currency, right? Now, current is, okay. It's
electrical pulse.
Exactly. Okay, it's a vibration, all of that thing. It's a frequency, all of those.
Yeah. Money's just a number in a bank account.
Well, but I think it's the great thing that 𝐓𝐞𝐫𝐢 𝐌𝐞𝐬𝐬𝐞𝐬, who obviously from Blue Sky Factory has a show here, The Greater Wealth, that we do every Monday. Absolutely fantastic. Guess what he calls money? Happy tickets.
Happy tickets. I love that.
Yep.
Happy
tickets.
Happy tickets. How many happy tickets do you have?
Oh,
well, he's ahead of himself. He's ahead of him. He's ahead of his time. He's following the Trump. You know, he might be mastering changing the currency. Who knows? But you know, that's really all it is. I mean, dollars and cents don't even hardly exist anymore. You know, now we've gone to credit cards and all of that sort of thing. And, you know, there is no doubt, you know, Lisa, look, getting back to faking it like you make it, you know, it's to a certain extent. However, without being able to resolve a lot of the energetic blocks and the real inner beliefs, and this is my work here, where you can tackle the, what am I telling myself really? Like you can be saying, oh, I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and I'm going to dress like a millionaire. I'm going to walk like a millionaire. I'm going to speak like a millionaire. And then the subconscious goes, talk to the hand, right?
But
because
am I going wrong because I'm just walking like an Egyptian?
Exactly. And yeah, exactly. But, you know, yeah. So what are the stories? You know, the questions that I would ask, like there was my mentor, and she actually literally does exactly the same work as I do. And she's a secret mentor. She doesn't know she's my mentor. I channel her in my dreams. But anyways, you know, we're so similar. You know, she went from having.
Yeah.
I channel a whole bit of dreams.
Can we channel some of those? She doesn't want the money. She just wants the hot man.
She does sleep a lot. Hang on.
My secrets are.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're doing well. Again, you know, this lady, she you know, she had $8.72 in her bank account and she was sleeping on her friend's couch. And she, you know, she went into the coaching field, but she also recognized that, you know, it was about what she was doing with her calling in life. And her parents had wanted her to become an architecture, and they'd sort of put her into that position where she'd go through university and do all the typical things that, you know, people do when they leave school and get themselves educated. Yep. And they happened to have a lecturer that happened to be a little bit philosophical, if you will. And they said, you know, close your eyes. You know, what do you see yourself doing in 2 years from now? And what does that look like? And what does that feel like? And, you know, they were talking to a classroom of, you know, obviously architects, up and rising architects. And she ran out of the classroom. And the first thing she did was she called her father and she said, I can't do this. This is, and that vision, that, because it was someone who knew this kind of work of the subconscious that had, I guess, facilitated her to be able to find in the eye of her mind who and what she wanted to become. And she was not in the right lane. So she owned herself. So this brings me to saying you've got to be really in love with what you're doing. You know, people, if you're just going out there and you're saying, give me money, you know, it's probably going to fly in the opposite direction. The question really is, what can I do to serve the world that is going to be so incredible and is going to be so life-changing? And then the money's just going to come naturally. So just on that note, to conclude that sentence, you don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, am I going to have enough air to breathe today? Am I, you know, is there going to be enough oxygen in the air? You've got to get to that point where that's how money becomes.
I love that analogy, actually. That's a good analogy.
You like that one?
Next time I breathe, I'm going to be breathing in happy tickets.
Happy tickets, get them in.
Hey, time for a very quick break here on Edge Radio Australia. It's the one
Is
thing.
pain holding you back? Bowen Therapy with Panacea Healing can change that for you. It's never too late to recharge your health, career, or purpose. You have the power within yourself to change what no longer serves you, taking your life and health to another level. PanaceaHealing.com.au. You can do anything.
Oh, look at that. Edge Radio Australia. You know what? I think Panacea Healing's pretty good stuff. You know, I've heard good stories.
Do you know her? Have you heard stories
met
about
her
her?
once before.
She's a pretty hot chick, you know.
Come on. Damn straight. And you know what? Never, ever, slow to promote herself. That's the thing, right?
You got to take the opportunity when you can.
Speaking of opportunities, if anyone wants to grab the opportunity to put a comment or a question in, I've seen a couple of comments come through, which is fantastic. Obviously, because we go out to so many feeds, we can't see them all, which is very disappointing. Wish we could, but that's life. But if you're coming through on particularly Facebook or the Edge Radio Australia YouTube page.
That is the one.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about the energetic tools.
Let's do them.
Yeah, what daily practices can you do?
Ooh, very good question. Well, I'm going to go back to this lady, my mentor, and firstly, something that was it just sounded so simple, and yet it was so profound. And remember, she had about $8.72 in her bank account, and she got an interview on a TEDx talk one day, and they said, you know, what did it feel like to wake up and be a multi-millionaire overnight, sort of thing? And her answer was this. It was so underwhelming. She said it felt normal. And this is what,
right.
Yeah. So coming back to your question about what are the daily practices, it's daily practices that are going to nurture you. I made the mistake, I went from a story the opposite. You know how you hear the stories from rags to riches? Well, I was the opposite. I went from riches to rags. So it was, when Ian and I had the clinic, we were doing very, very well. And these are the sort of things that go on for people. You get people that have a kind of an energy about them where they don't care about money. Now, apparently, Ian and I did not care about money. It wasn't that we were desperate for it or, we didn't want it. It's just that we didn't care about it. And as a result, what would happen is we were like a cylinder. So we would be turning over, I think it worked out that we were multiple six figures when we sold the clinic in 2017, and we sold it for a song. No pun intended, Aaron. Can't get that karaoke out of my head. But we sold it for a song. And that was really a representation of how bad our money mindset was. Because number one, especially Ian, country boy, he didn't care about money. You know what I mean? He did what he did because he loved what he was doing, and he was really damn good at it as well. And as for me, I just took it for granted. Being in this clinic, I became a practitioner, I became a clinical hypnotherapist, and I had a captive audience. So I thought it was normal to be, seeing 6 people a day and helping them. So I took it for granted. But
you just got used to winning. You didn't see any other way?
No, absolutely.
And so how did that change, Terry? So you went from riches to rags, and that all of a sudden switched and changed. How do you get yourself back out of that?
Okay, so all right, hop, step, jump, leap. Okay, so firstly, I really have to say that I went into the online space with a very cocky attitude, and I don't believe I'm a very cocky person by nature, but I did. I tended to go in thinking, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park, like. For all you guys know, I could be wearing my pajamas on the bottom here, and I thought that's what I can do. I can roll up, and it'll be easy as. Look how easy it's been in bricks and mortar. How much easier is it going to be online?
Yeah, because COVID changed that for you, correct? That's why you went online? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, we went in 2017. We just decided we'd sell the clinic, And, you know, Ian would work part-time and I would go online, and it was a really big shock to the system because I wasn't making any money. And then, you know, what happened was I won a trip, Lisa will be able to tell you about it, to the Bahamas. I didn't know I'd applied for the competition, but apparently I won it anyway through the company that we were with. So off we went to the Bahamas, Ian and I, and both of us with our careless, you know, footloose, fancy free attitude, we virtually spent the money that we had, that we sold the business with, because it was only a small amount, on frivolous things, because we weren't equipped with the US dollar. We thought, you know, the US dollar has a different currency. So getting back to your question, how did I turn that around? Is that what you wanted to know?
Yes.
Yeah, how did you turn that around? Yeah.
Well, a lot of hustle, a lot of silent desperation. I will tell you, I love that green hat, Lisa.
Oh, come on, Lisa, put the hat on top now.
On top, green for money. I don't think that's going to work, though.
Yes, actually, green is money.
What did I miss?
Oh,
Well,
everything.
We're going from riches to rags to riches.
But the good news is the replay is actually on Sunday. You know, so you want to catch that from 10 a.m. on edgeradioaustralia.com. Away you go. And obviously you can watch it anytime you like on the socials. Sorry, back to Terri.
I love it. You make good radio, Aaron. And, you know, well, look, you know, in a nutshell, money trauma is real, okay? And let's just say I had money trauma. I'd had a couple of elements of humiliation and things that had happened to me. And I was hustling my little butt off, I'll be honest with you. And what I didn't realize is I was just pushing it away. And, you know, people come to you because
you were trying to hustle it. Was that because you were trying to claw some money back instead of being... So from what my understanding is, instead of being in service, you were focused on the money. And when we come from being in service, it naturally flows. Is that right?
That's spot on. That is absolutely spot on. Yeah. So I got into that desperation mode. Yeah. And, you know, and then there was a whole lot of ego stuff going on around that as well. And so, you know, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And so really at the end of it all, I had to look at what was going on. And also when it comes to our prosperity codes, we've got to look at balancing from the NLP, because I'm going to say it again, that I'm not...
Ask that as well. What is the prosperity code?
Yeah, so prosperity codes is master key number 3, Leanne. So
explain it. Okay.
Is it similar to number 5?
You're good, Aaron. You know how many master keys there are. I'm impressed. So look, the master keys that I actually did develop, I developed after I'd come through clinic. And after there was, I think we looked at the stats and I'd served about, this is one-on-one, something like, I think it was 6,100 people over the years and years and years that I'd been actually serving. And I was trying to find out, you know, what was my niche, who were my niche? And I hated that word. It was like a 4-letter word. And we all know if you do, if you're in the industry I'm in, you know that if you're a good coach, you can help anyone, because it's not about us giving advice, because we don't give advice. It's about us helping that person to understand what they desire, what their blocks are, and how to overcome them. So that was a massive element of, you know, what had happened when I kind of hit the wall. And I feel that hitting the wall is possibly the greatest thing that can really ever happen to a person, as long as they know that they're going to bounce, you know. So you've got to be prepared to hit the wall and not go down or stay down, but you've got to hit the wall and kind of rise up. And getting back to the spiritual prosperity codes, I had lost my self-worth, my self-love. This is the prosperity codes: self-worth, self-love, self-empowerment, confidence in who and what you are and what you're doing as a person. And then I guess if I'm going to go back to the master key, number 3, out of all of those people that I served, I recognized that my niche didn't come from what people were doing when they came to see me. So it wasn't about the drug addict or even the musician or the jailbird or anything as such. It was about who they were once they released it and let it go. And that was the element that helped me define the master keys. So where's my green hat? I've got to find it.
Terri, we'll take a breath in a minute. We've got a couple of questions.
We have, absolutely. So when you're ready.
Has she taken a breath?
She hasn't. I'm
taking a breath.
Actually deeply concerned that she may explode at any moment. Okay, so clear the area. No, some great questions have come through. So Edie has put through a wonderful question. Is it possible to fully clear money blocks, or is it an ongoing journey?
That's a great question.
It is.
And the answer to that is a question, and that is, if you were to clear your money blocks, and how do I say this lovely lady's name? Is it Indonesian? Is it possible that you could be in a situation where you can become wealthy as a result of what you are called to do on this planet and what you can do that is so incredible? And the question that I would ask around that is, if you were wanting to be the best at what you do in your industry, would that require for you to continue to evolve and, continue to upgrade? And I don't know about you, my love, but I know for me, I'm definitely having to upgrade and evolve all the time because I'm always crashing and burning.
All right,
so that's my point.
Here's a question for you, Terri. You were talking about being the best. Now, I think that is really interesting because I don't actually think that you have to be the best at anything to have the most money. There's a lot of people out there that are the best at what they do, but they don't make more money than the people that are.
Yeah, correct.
Isn't that true?
Yeah, very, very true, Lisa. Absolutely. And so you don't have to be, if you could be the very, very best, and you could be the world's best kept secret. And, I hear this all the time with a lot of the coaches that, I'm serving and I'm working with. So it's, really about the fact that you're coming from a place and a space where, number one, that you're clearing your money blocks, okay? And you are looking at money in a different perspective. And I believe that this is really what it's about. You've got to look at money from a different angle. You've almost got to have a relationship with it. Now, every good mentor has a mentor, and I have a mentor, and it's been a long time coming, but I've just, started that journey in the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. And they told me, you've got to have a relationship with money. You've got to be able to almost not fall in love with money in that concept, because we know that the love of money, as they say in the Bible, is, the love of money, they say, is evil, right? But you've got to be able to have a healthy respect and treat it with absolute purity. So if dirty money, for example, is here today and gone tomorrow. But getting back to your point, Lisa, yes, there are a lot of best kept secrets. You can be the best, but then the question is, what is blocking you? What is holding you back?
I want to draw yourself to that question that's actually on the screen from Samuel. Thank you, Samuel, for this question. Now, what are some of the subtle signs that the screen's going to cover itself
That
up?
our money mindset might be rooted in scarcity.
Thank you. There we go.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Samuel. Subtle signs that money mindset is rooted in scarcity. It's an energy. You'll feel it. You'll feel it in your body. So, for example, I can remember, having a phase of my life where even if I had money, I would go to the cash register at the supermarket and be like, especially if there were people behind me, and be, oh my gosh, am I going to have money in my account? So I was telling myself the story, but that story didn't come from thin air, right? That story came out of a trauma that I had personally in my life that was replaying. So
people find out what that trauma is, though, Terri? Sorry. How do people find out what that trauma is? How do they know where it comes from? Is there a way that they can find out themselves, or is it something that's best done with a coach and with someone that can help draw that out?
Well, obviously a lot of people are self-made, and some people are just born to be self-made. And then you'll get people like a lot of, especially men. I found that when I was working with men, because nobody ever came to me once and said, Terri, I want to be rich. No one ever said that, right? They would come to me with women trouble, but that really led from mummy problems, or they had little man syndrome, or they had some kind of.
Really?
Yeah, I had a 6'4" man suffering from little man syndrome.
Can you explain little man syndrome? Lisa doesn't.
So little man syndrome. Okay, he was still echoing, and when you get a really good, usually this is someone who is really good with the subconscious mind. So you asked, how do you know, right? Well, sometimes it's really difficult to know, but you can ask yourself the right question, like, what is it that is my scarcity? What is my trauma? What do I believing around money blocks? For this man in particular, this stands out like anything in my mind, because he was a big man. He had a business. He had a lot of people working for him, but he had this story and this trauma about a situation that had happened with his father as a child. And of course, we discovered that. Now, he didn't come to me, as I said, and say to me, look, I want to be rich. He came to me to overcome some of his anxiety. And so we dissolved, cleared and released that. And it did come up through the session. And he came in one day and he said to me, because a lot of my clients ended up outsmarting me and exceeding me too, which is a really good thing. And he came in to me and he said to me, you know what, Terri, I figured something out. He used to see Ian and myself. And he said, if you can get me over what I've just got over and break that ceiling, then you can help me make my first million in my business. I'm like, whoa. And, talking about limiting beliefs here. But I thought, I think this guy's kind of like over believing in me here a bit, or in this work that we're doing together. So anyway, we had a go. We went through the visualization of it. And when I asked him, look, what is it that you see and what is happening and how much money have you made? And it was July 1, it was very specific. And he said it to me, and I actually heard myself asking him the question, do you think that's realistic? And that was a really bad question for me to have asked him.
Yes, you're very naughty.
Naughty. I was really naughty, but just kind of like, because they do say you've got to be real. Don't make it out of this world.
You put a judgment on him.
Sorry?
Did you put a judgment on him, a ceiling?
Well, I'm putting a cap on him. And I'm kind of like, in a way, protecting my own ego because I don't want him to fail. Do you know what I mean?
How much money did you say? Did he say?
Okay, so he said he wanted to do his first 7 figures. So we did the whole visualization and then reverse engineering, right?
Okay.
We reverse engineered his thing, and he gave the date, and I even said, "Oh, do you think that's a bit soon?" Because it was July 1. He wanted to do it by the financial year. And then, do you know what? He cracked it. He cracked the freaking jackpot. He told Ian before he told me. And Ian said, "Oh, that guy, he's done it." I see his trucks all over the road today. And I think to myself, far out, you know.
Terri.
What, so she cannot believe in you?
So she cannot believe in me and I can prove her wrong.
Your stubbornness will do the trick, right? Look at that.
Do you know what else he did? What else he did? He might watch this. Sorry, I'm not naming you, man. But
Man.
he also got all his employees to come into a workshop with me so that they could also overcome. Now, remembering we hadn't cracked the jackpot ourselves, so that's proof that I'm not the wellness
You're just
activator.
the facilitator.
I'm just the facilitator here, right? Like the karaoke singer.
Did you tell him that, that session with his employees would be, that's a 5-figure income right there.
I did not.
Bring it in.
No,
I was shocking, Leanne.
I'm sitting next to Debbie Moore.
Do you want to know something worse than that, Leanne? He was the one who got me to do it. I never suggested it. So he believed in me more than I believed in me.
And sometimes you need someone like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you a funny thing that happened though, because this is really attached to everything. I know you might think it's getting away from money, but it's all about life, really. After that workshop, everyone went bananas. People were resigning, people got promoted, people were splitting up with their partners, and he comes into me and he says, "What on earth has happened, Terri? Everyone's gone crazy." And I said to him, I nearly said his name, I said, "Look, there was nothing to do with, the fact of anything that we did here together. What's happened is you've fast-tracked everything. So every single thing that because that's what NLP and subconscious work does, it fast-tracks everything. So the people who left their spouses were always going to leave them. It might have been a drag out for 2 years. Do you know what I mean? People that decided to walk away from the company and resign, they were always going to do it. But instead of a long, drawn-out 6 months, it happened overnight. And that was a very classic sign. So that's the same with him when he made his 7 figures, because he was able to fast track to that and just bring it forward.
Now, Terri, we've run very much rather out of time. But so in 10 words or less, sum it all up. How do I get rid of this?
10 words.
No, I'm
okay.
kidding.
Was money safe? Was money safe in your family? Or, what did your parents, what were the kind of messages you got from your parents?
There's things like,
what do you believe about money? Like,
Yeah.
If I put you to the challenge, Aaron, and I said to you, right, I want you to call someone up. I want you to call someone up in the next week, someone who's interested in maybe presenting here on Edge Radio. Yep. And I want you to say, hey, and just for the exercise, I want you to approach them, give them the position, and then I dare you to double the price of what the normal price is.
Double dare.
Double dare. Oh, challenge accepted.
Double dare.
I work with a couple of nutters.
The woman who walked in with the crazy hat. Never mind. Okay. Look, Terri, always an absolute pleasure. And right now, like NLP, I mean, I actually believe in it quite a lot. I really do. I think that you can retrain your brain in so many ways.
He's scratching his nose. It means he's lying.
Oh, God.
It means my nose is...
He's not.
Okay. What do you see him, Terry? He's scratching his nose.
Terry,
I saw him, but I can tell you right now, the guy is a convert. He doesn't try to act out anything. Like when I first met Aaron, he thought I was woo-woo and he thought all these things. So I know that you think very differently today, and I reckon you would be an incredible master trainer in this, Aaron, and I believe it can even correlate into the show.
So, Terri, just on that note, where can people learn more or access some of your tools and programs?
Okay, terrimessenger.com, go to work with me, there's a drop down bar and there's spiritual prosperity codes. Have a wander through that. What I'll do is if you want to purchase that program has been established. It is made up of a series of videos. So you're going to get workbooks, ebooks, videos to destroy some of those limiting beliefs, let go of some of the trauma. Some of it won't even be around money. I can promise you that. It'll be mostly about life. And you'll have that in your library for life. But if you contact me, I'll give you a special coupon code and give you 50%, a 50% discount when you quote Edge Radio.
Oh, but that's not all.
Edge Radio Australia. 50% off code. I was going to ask where's our discount, but thank you, Terri. You did it already.
No, she's giving that to everybody else. What do we get?
Oh, we get a freebie. Woo!
No, you guys can help me facilitate it. We can run a workshop and, you guys
I'd be more than happy to run a workshop with you, Terri. You're a brilliant and amazing NLP trainer, master, and also all-round good human.
A good human.
A good human. And with that bombshell, it's the end of the show. Thank you very much for being part of the One Thing here at Edge Radio Australia.
See you next week.
Ever felt lost online finding the right businesses?
Absolutely, like a needle in a haystack.
Introducing the Worldwide Awake Business Directory.
Tell me more.
It's your hub for businesses sharing your values. Discover eco-friendly products, socially responsible services, and more.
Count me in. I'll check it out straight away.
Find businesses aligned with your values on the Worldwide Awake Business Directory. Start making a difference with every purchase.